Well, again, welcome, and we're really glad to have you here, and we hope you enjoy what we're going to present today. I think we have a great presentation with brilliant and charming presenters, excluding me. I want to say right off the bat that we will be happy to entertain questions. We'll make sure that there's plenty of time for that. So if you could save your questions to the end, or if you would like to type your questions into the chat room, we would be able to read them then when we get into the question and answer period. So we're really delighted to have you here. I want to introduce, I'm sorry. First, we're going to move forward a little bit and do a little bit of introduction. This is our agenda today. We're going to have a brief update on where the organization is. We're going to have a neonatal foster and care presentation by Amber Padzik, and I know I didn't get that right, and Emily Swinarski, Dr. Emily Swinarski. Amber, I'm sorry, I'll practice more. And then time for questions, and then we're going to tell you about upcoming events. All right, so let's move forward. Next slide. We have a video to show you. We're really pleased with that video, and it really does tell the story of a 124-year organization that has been growing and adapting and innovating to serve the needs of the community and of animals for 124 years. And we're looking forward to less than a year from now, our 125th anniversary. But in preparing for our 125th, we looked very deeply at who we are, what we stand for, why we exist, and how we want to move into the future. And that video really tells that story. But we restated our mission statement as the Anti-Cruelty Society builds a healthy and happy community where pets and people thrive together. It's important that community and people are in that mission statement, as well, of course, as animals, which are, of course, always the object of the organization's mission. Next, please. Our vision is to build a humane Chicago for pets and people. We believe that the human-animal bond is so powerful that, utilized correctly, it could actually build a better and more humane world, and in our case, a more humane Chicago. Next, please. Our values, which were examined and restated, are inclusion, access, trust, hope, and passion. Next. And our guiding principles. Everything we do has to be aimed at these two principles or based on these principles. We will provide the best care of any shelter in the country. We have the talent to do it. And thanks to you and thousands, literally 29,000 people every year who give us money, we have the resources to do it. And also, of course, our amazing volunteers, without whom we could not do what we do. And we are an open door, always have been, always will be. We welcome all. Next, please. Our strategic priority areas in the 500 days before our 125th anniversary, and then moving forward into the future. Best care for animals. We will provide the best care. Best care for people. We will support people and their animals to ensure health and well-being. And best care in communities. We will contribute to neighborhood well-being, economic development, and workforce development and community by expanding our best care services beyond the shelter and directly into communities. Next slide, please. So now is the time where you don't have to listen to me anymore and you get to hear what we're here for, which is to talk about kitten kindergarten, caring for itty bitty kitties. And the presenters are going to be introduced by our Vice President of Quality and Best Care, Darlene Duggan. Darlene, take the stage.
Thank you, Tracy. And again, I welcome everybody that is joining us this afternoon. It's good to see so many familiar faces and some new faces, and eager to see that everybody is so excited to hear about our little itty bitty kitties. Before I intro our speakers, I wanted to just say a quick word about fostering in general, but specifically with this neonatal kitten program that we have. This is fostering in general, but specifically our neonatal kittens is truly life-saving. There are very, very few options that we have at the shelter in order to save as many kitten lives as we possibly can. And we're coming up on that season now in the warmer months. I know it's not very warm right now, but it is spring, and the kittens are starting to trickle in. So this is high time for us. So it's very exciting to be able to talk to everybody about this. But I want to introduce Amber and Dr. Emily, who will be presenting today. Amber is an over 10-year veteran of the Anti-Cruelty Society. She has wore many hats around the shelter, but about a year or so ago, she made the jump over to the foster team. I think fostering has always been in her heart, and it has always been a part of what makes Amber so special at the Anti-Cruelty Society. She currently shares her home with her husband, her 3 toddlers, a hamster, a newly adopted puppy, some fish, and always has a foster or 2. So it is a busy household there. And yet she remains productive when she comes to work. It's amazing. So I'm excited for Amber to be able to present today. And then Dr. Emily will be also talking to us a little bit more on the medical side of neonatal foster care and fostering. And for over 10 years, Dr. Swinarski has worked in animal shelters coast to coast, providing care to animals as well as pets of families in need. Her professional interests include infectious disease, community cats, and the whole health of animals in shelter environment. The work we do is so unique in shelter medicine. It is about the aggregate. It's about keeping everybody, the hundreds of animals in our care, healthy, but it's also about the individual animals. So it is and it's a balancing act. And we are so lucky to have Dr. Emily leading our veterinary team and leading our medical efforts here at the Anti-Cruelty Society. Dr. Emily enjoys traveling and volunteering, and she also usually has a foster pet or two in her home that she shares with her husband and 2 young children, and 2 silly old cats as well, and a 3-legged dog. So again, there is no lack of fun and excitement happening in Dr. Emily's home as well. So I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to Amber to kick off our presentation.
Thank you, Darlene. Thank you for everyone for attending today. I am so super excited to talk about neonatal kittens. They are my absolute favorite topic. So I hope everyone enjoys the presentation. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. We're hoping that everyone enjoys this. So next slide, please. All right. So caring for neonatal orphaned kittens. Kitten season kicks in between April and September each year as soon as the weather gets warmer. Last year, over 607 kittens came through our door. We're anticipating even more this year because we had a relatively mild winter. But typically kittens come in as strays, owner surrenders, and then occasionally transfers in from other shelters. Next slide. So when we talk about a neonatal kitten, what does that mean? So these are kittens who are under a month old. So you can see in the picture, we have our teeny tinies. The little newborn kittens are usually pink in color. Their eyes are closed. They are about 1/4 pound or less at this point. They can't see or hear you. By week 1, they start getting a little bit more color to them. Those eyes and ears are still closed, but you might begin to see little peepers looking at you around days 8 to 12. 2 weeks, those eyes are open and the kittens are wobbly and walking around a little bit more. Majority of these little kittens have blue eyes, similar to human babies, but they'll start changing colors a little bit later. As they get bigger and bigger, our 3-week-old kittens, their ears are now unfolded, so they are getting those cute little round faces, and those little kitten baby teeth are starting to come in. Week 4, they are fully looking like little aliens, in my opinion, but they have more teeth emerging and they're walking confidently and exploring their surroundings. And then week 5, more teeth come and they're slowly learning to eat that wet kitten food. By 6 weeks, you're in the big kitten club. Now you're looking just at miniature kitties. Those molars are emerging and they're very coordinated. This is the point that they're getting into everything, just running around your house. Week 7, all those deciduous or baby teeth have emerged and they've begun their transition into their adult eye color. And then 8 weeks, that is our end game. That is the time when we have the 2-pounders go up for spay and neuter surgery, and then they get placed up for adoption. So 8 weeks is our end game and the day we really look forward to. All right, when you're caring for bottle babies, the formula for success, you got to keep them warm, you got to care for them, give them as much love as you can, and it does take a little bit of luck. That is the equation for happy, healthy kittens. All right, so determining the kitten's age. Once you have a general idea of how old the kitten is, that's when you can come up with a care plan of what they're going to need. When they're newborns between 0 and 2 weeks, you're going to need to feed them every 2 to 3 hours. Kittens have a very, very small stomach, so it's important to get their formula into them every 2 to 3 hours. That includes waking up overnight. Kittens this age cannot go to the bathroom by themselves, so you do have to stimulate them. You have to make sure they're nice and clean, and you have to keep them nice and warm. Until they're about 4 weeks old, kittens can't regulate their body temperature, so they need some help with that. Next slide, please. So how do we keep kittens warm and cozy when they're at your home? We like to use an open top carrier or a big Tupperware tub. Use some nice soft blankets or some soft towels. a heating disc, which is just a circular disc you could pop in your microwave for a couple minutes, but you want to make sure the kittens always have the option to get off of that heating unit if they do get too warm. And you want to make sure that your carrier or your container for them is in a draft-free, quiet place. These guys are very sensitive to change in temperatures, so you want to stay away from open windows and doors that frequently open and close. Next slide. All right, now the fun begins. Let's get these guys ready to eat. So kittens, when they're this young, need special food called KMR, or kitten milk replacement formula. So this formula comes in a powdered form or a pre-made liquid. We use a special type of nipple called a miracle nipple, and you're going to either attach that to a syringe or with a bottle. You're going to need some towels or thin blankets, a small bowl to heat some water in, avoid the metal in the microwave as usual, some baby wipes, and some soft napkins for cleanup, and then lots of patience. Next slide, please. So a kitten with a full belly is a happy kitten. And since you're going to be feeding these guys every 2 to 3 hours, you're going to get really good at preparing their food. So you're going to shake, 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 shake your bottle up. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take your powdered formula and mix it in 1 scoop of formula to 2 scoops of water. If you have a protein shaker bottle or those smoothie bottles that have the metal ball in it, that works great for getting all the clumps up. You're going to shake, shake, shake it up until there are no clumps remaining. You're going to warm the formula. Because milk, when you heat it, doesn't heat evenly, we always recommend heating a little cup of water and then just putting the formula into a bottle or a small bowl that will sit in that heated water. You're going to always check the temperature of the formula on your wrist, similar to how you would care for a newborn infant human. You want to make sure that if it's too cold to your touch or too hot, you don't want to feed the kitten and you'll need to adjust the temperature. You always want to make sure that your kitten is nice and warm and toasty prior to feeding that little baby. If they're too cold and you try and feed them, some pretty bad stuff can go on internally. So you always want to warm them up, make sure they're nice and toasty before you start feeding them. All right, num, 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 feed me. So kittens will go out of their way. They're very vocal when they're hungry. So you're going to position the kitten in a few different ways. So some kittens like to be wrapped in a towel or a small blanket and faced feet down, stomach always facing down. You could also lay them on your chest, whatever the kitten is more comfortable with. You're going to want to go very slow when they're first learning, especially kittens who are away from mom for the first time. They don't understand what you're trying to do, that you're trying to help them and get nutrition into them. So it may take some time to get them into the right position. Going slow, looking out for the telltale signs of the ear wiggles. When those ears start wiggling, 1, it's adorable, but 2, it means they have a great latch and they're getting in the formula at a great speed. If they're fussy and they're just not working on it, sometimes trying a different position or double checking to make sure your formula doesn't have any clumps or anything that got stuck in that nipple. When the kittens are done eating, you're going to want to wipe off their faces and then you're going to burp the baby. So you're just going to put it on their shoulder, a little tap, 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 and a little air bubble will sometimes come out. Little kittens like this, remember, you're going to feed them every 2 to 3 hours. So if they don't want to eat at one feeding, but they've only taken a couple, that's fine. You want to make sure you're getting something into their bodies every time you feed them. Next slide, please. All right, so how much should they eat? So that's going to be dependent on how old the kitten is and their weight. So typically when you're looking at kittens who are about 1 week to 2 weeks, you're going to try and get between 5 and 10 milliliters into their bodies every 2 to 3 hours. As the kitten grows, they're going to take in more of that formula and their times between feedings are going to expand. This is when you start getting your sleep back and life gets a little bit easier for those bottle baby kittens. When you get to about that 5-week mark, that's when you want to start introducing that new forms of food or those gruel babies. Next slide, please. All right, so everybody poops. Everyone loves that story. So in nature, moms have the luxurious job of stimulating their kittens to clean them. But when a kitten is an orphan, they don't have anyone to do that. So the foster parents have to step in. Don't worry, you don't have to lick them or clean them with your mouth. I have legitimately heard that question, but you need to slowly stimulate them using some soft tissue, gauze, a little toilet paper, cotton balls, anything nice. Some people even like to use organic fragrance-free baby wipes and have a potty garbage pan nearby. So when they're ready to go potty, you're going to moisten the material with some warm water and gently rub that cloth over their genitals. They should urinate every single time you feed them, and you're going to want to look for poop once a day. Neonatal kitten fosters get very obsessed with kitten poop, similar to new parents who are constantly wondering how many wet or dry diapers they have. You will become very obsessed with the color, the size, how often they poop, but that's a really good sign of the internal health of that kitten. So that's a pretty good thing to be worried about when you are bottle feeding these kitties. So once they have gone potty, you're going to gently clean off them with either a baby wipe or a wet towel. Most of the time, these little bottle babies will have a pretty bald stomach just because you're stimulating them so often, but you want to make sure that they are getting cleaned up afterwards. Make sure you always wash your hands as well when you're done with helping them go potty. So diarrhea. Diarrhea is one of our main concerns when we are bottle feeding kittens. And when a kitten has diarrhea, that's a pretty big problem. When they have diarrhea, that could lead to dehydration or even death. When you see a kitten having this problem, you want to make sure first that they're not dehydrated. You can do a simple test called a skin test, which is basically you put the hands on their back of their mouth, the back of their necks where their scruff is, and you pull that up, that skin. If they're dehydrated, that tent is going to stay up. If they're nice and hydrated, the skin flaps down really quick. So if you notice that the kitten is dehydrated, you're going to want to substitute some Pedialyte or electrolytes into their formula. You can substitute the flavor-free, color-free Pedialyte into the formula mixture instead of water, or you can add the little electrolytes packets to it. So hopefully that will help. You want to continue making sure that you're getting fluids in them every couple hours. Checking the kitten's weight is the #1 way of monitoring their health as well as their poop. So that diarrhea is very concerning. So next slide, please. On the flip side, you have constipation. So when kittens come from their mom's milk to a pre-made formula, sometimes they will get constipated. So it's important that after 1 or 2 days and you're not getting any of that poop out, that you reach out to an experienced bottle feeder. There are people with a special magic power of getting kittens to poop, and they are so important in the neonatal world. But typically what you can do to help this along is dipping the kitten's rear end in warm water for a couple seconds, gently massaging. Sometimes just a flip of your hand or a different hand position will help. Sometimes using a different material will get that ball rolling. But like I said, if it goes longer than about 2 days, though, then you're going to need to seek out some extra help. Just make sure that they don't get too backed up or anything blocking inside. And when they're around 3 weeks old, you always want to check their bedding. We've definitely had people panicked because the kittens haven't pooped while they were stimulating them, but they're growing and they were just pooping on their blankets, which is great because that's the beginning of learning how to use the litter box. Next, please. All right, when they are 4 to 5 weeks old, this is the gruel babies or the mush babies. This is a super fun time when you're taking care of kittens, but it also gets very, very messy. So when you are transitioning a kitten from milk to canned kitten food, you always want to go slow. Some little kittens will be so eager to try this new food, they will just run to it immediately. Some want to be bottle fed for the rest of their lives. So I assure you that won't happen, but sometimes it does feel like that. So when you are teaching a kitten how to eat this new food, what you're going to want to start with is just putting a little scoop of some pate. We love the Royal Canin mom and baby food, that little pink can. We haven't had a kitten turn that down yet. But you just mix a little bit of that canned food into a bottle, shake it up. You've now got a little meat bottle, and you're going to try and feed it like that. As long as it is a consistency to fit through that nipple hole, you're going to work with that. And then gradually you're going to add more and more of that canned food into the mixture. At this point, you're going to want to go to a shallow dish or a plate, and you're just going to want to let the kittens kind of explore. Some kittens will immediately pop all around and just take a bath in it. Some will look at you like you're crazy and wondering what you are doing. Sometimes you have to help them out by using a spoon and holding it up to them. Sometimes there's success putting it on their paws, which they'll lick it off. And sometimes you just have to keep offering it until they realize that, hey, this stuff is good. I really like being a little carnivore that I am. So when you are doing mush babies, you want to keep offering their milk at the same time until they're consistently eating. Just because they're swimming around in the food doesn't necessarily mean they're swallowing it and ingesting the amount that they need. Weighing the kittens during this process is super important. In general, kittens should gain about 10 grams of weight a day. Sometimes they will be show-offs and gain a little bit less, and sometimes they will go a little bit slower depending on the environment they came from. But a general rule of thumb is you want them to gain about 10 grams a day. When they're eating, you do want to feel their throat and make sure that they're actually swallowing the food, because they will get so messy. You do need to make sure that they are actually eating this food. Next slide. All right. So if you are thinking to yourself, there's no way I could feed a kitten every 2 to 3 hours. I have a job, I have a family. There's no way, I need my sleep. Then we recommend mom and baby groups. This is the easiest, best foster situation, in my opinion, because mama cats, they literally do all of the work for you. They feed, they teach those babies how to become full-grown cats, they clean up after them, and they're just a joy to have. So if you have the ability to take in a mom and baby unit, you will not regret it. It is a wonderful, wonderful experience. So when you have a mom and baby group, you want to make sure that all kittens are getting an opportunity to eat. Sometimes the runt or the smaller ones kind of get pushed off to the side by the more voracious eaters. So you want to make sure that everybody is getting a chance. If a kitten is kept on the side by itself, that's generally a red flag of, hey, something serious is going on. In nature, a lot of times mom cats will push these little guys to the side or just completely abandon them because they know that they're sick, something internally is not working right. So if you see a little bit of kitten on the side, you want to pay special attention to those little ones. Mama cats need unlimited food. Nursing is a hard job and requires a lot of calories. So mama cats get a free pass to get as much food as they want. Moms do also need a break from those kitties. So make sure that mom has the ability to get away from them a little bit, stretch her legs, and just take little breaks. You're still going to be wanting to weigh these kittens even when they have a mom, because remember, that is our number way of monitoring health and impending illness if that is happening. All right, and I'm going to hand this over to Dr. Emily, who's going to talk a little bit more about kitten health.
Thank you, Amber. Yes, I just wanted to comment that we love our itty bitty kittens here at Anti-Cruelty Society, but it is a lot of work for our fosters. And actually, the medical team, every year we get ready for a little extra attention to pay to these little guys. And the reason we have more concerns with their medical health is because they have a lowered immune system, right? It's not mature, it's not fully grown. And so any little virus, like a little cold virus, an upper respiratory infection, things like that, is going to hit little kittens harder than it would another adult cat. And they're a small body with little reserves. So if you think about diarrhea, which Amber highlighted, it's actually a lot more concerning in a little itty bitty kitten than it would be in an adult cat. Why? Because kittens are tiny and they don't have as much water and as much body fat and as many, backup reserves if they do get sick to sort of accommodate for that. And I use 3 rules of thumb when I think about caring for kittens and getting them back on track. It's warmth, water, and sugar. So if you have a little kitten who's sick, their body temperature is going to decrease. They don't have the same ability to regulate their temperature, so we've got to get them warm. They also will not be able to absorb nutrients or milk if they're not warm. So if a kitten is ill, we don't want to rush to feed them, actually, because if they're not warm enough, that milk will go into their stomach and it will sit there and actually rot. Water, we want to make sure that they have plenty of hydration. So we talk about fosters using Pedialyte in with the formula. Another thing is if a kitten is sick and we have them here at Anti-Cruelty, or the vet is examining the kitten and determines that they're dehydrated, we'll actually give them fluids, in a different way under the skin to really emphasize extra hydration and sugar. So same with the idea of having very little reserves. Kittens will have a blood sugar crash pretty easily if they have any type of illness. And so on occasion, people will find a kitten was feeling really good the day before and then is pretty lethargic today, not very active, and then was almost listless and not responding very well. They bring them in and we just give them some boosts of blood sugar and they're feeling a lot better. Another thing to point out, and that Amber mentioned, was weighing them every day. I cannot stress how critical that is. If a kitten does not gain weight in a 24-hour period, that is the first sign that there might be something wrong. If a kitten loses weight, they should basically make an appointment with the veterinary team here at Anti-Cruelty Society. It's just you catch things so much quicker, and it helps to ensure that the kitten does well. Next slide. So just a note, having foster kittens in your home is a ton of work. Not only is it all the feeding and the care and monitoring there, but it's also coming in for extra appointments when they're little. So when we have kittens come into the shelter, if they show up and they're 4 weeks of age or older, we're going to give them their first vaccine when they're in the shelter. But our goal is that if we get little itty bitty kittens, we send them to foster right away. And we don't want them to come back into the shelter unless they really, really have to. So we start vaccines at 6 weeks of age. That's the perfect time to start vaccines if we can wait that long. We're going to give them lots of dewormers. Basically, there are roundworms that show up in mama cats, and they're actually, the worms themselves migrate to the milk of mom cats or to the placenta when they're pregnant to infect the kittens. And so no matter what, the kittens will have worms. So we deworm everybody. And that's also, we use 2 different kind of medications. Pyrantel, we use it over and over and over again. Every time that kitten comes to the vet and gets a vaccine, it's going to get Pyrantel again and again. Panazerol is another medication we use to combat coccidia. It's another fairly common parasite we worry about. And then at each vaccine appointment, they're going to get an exam. It may seem repetitive at one point in time, but so many times, we see a kitten at 6 weeks of age and they look great. They seem to be doing very well, but it's pretty easy for little kittens to develop illness because of their immature immune system. And we like to see them over and over again to make sure they stay healthy. We also look at any potential congenital issues. What that means is something they're born with. So kittens can be born with a cleft palate where there's a hole in the roof of their mouth, and that causes milk to go into their nose and come out of their nose. So there are tons of little things, and some of those things, we don't see it right away. And then, like I mentioned before, infectious disease, right? So any little virus could affect them harder than it would an adult. So we're looking for that quite frequently. And that's just my quick note on the medical side of things in kittens, and I'll kick it back to Amber.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Emily. So if you are considering becoming a neonate foster and you would like some more resources, one lady who we love, her name is Hannah Shaw, and she is self-proclaimed the kitten lady. So Miss Shaw has become pretty much a worldwide phenomenon and has really brought feeding bottle babies to the public eye. So kittens are adorable. So if you're looking for your daily fix of adorableness, I definitely recommend checking out the Kitten Lady. She's got an Instagram page, a Facebook page, and then her website as well. But on an educational side of things, she has great videos of everything related to kittens, how to feed them, how to stimulate them, go to potty, special ways to socialize them. Basically everything from day 1 to adoption day is all included in Kitten Lady's materials. So the extra cool part is Hannah just married a cat photographer. So that adds on to the cuteness level of all of her things that she offers us. So if you want another video to watch, kind of a reference to attend to, Kitten Lady is definitely the way to go. One caveat with her is when she does have these little bottle babies, she has basically unlimited funding and availability to do above and beyond medical care. As an open admission shelter, we don't always have that luxury and have to make sure that our resources are used in the best way possible. So little kitties who are this small, when something does happen, there isn't always a lot of medical intervention that we will be able to do, but someone with unlimited funding and capabilities may have those options. So just kind of keep that in mind when you are looking at Kitten Ladies materials. All right, so I am so lucky to have a team of 3 who work on the foster team with me. So I have Myra Barrios and Maria Valdez. So we are here every day of the week helping people connect foster animals. We are here to support our foster team in however we can. When you foster with the Anti-Cruelty, it is completely free. We will provide all of the materials you need, food, toys, bedding, treats. If you need a special cage, some kind of baby cage, a containment system, whatever you might need for your foster journey, we will work to provide that for you. We will also be here to support you along the way. Fostering is very rewarding, but it can be a learning experience, and sometimes you just need that extra support. So if you ever have any questions, or if you want to join our foster team, you can definitely email us at foster@anticruelty.org, or check out the website anticruelty.org/foster. We have all of the ways to become a foster, and then a lot of the resources that you may need throughout your fostering journey with us. We also have a Facebook page. So if it's 2 a.m. and you have a question about feeding your kitten, someone from the experienced fosters or someone in the world who is part of that page, it is private, so that is a nice level of security, will be up and be able to answer that question. Plus, it's a really great way, again, to get that daily dose of cuteness in pictures and videos. Next slide. All right, so like I just mentioned, we're always looking for more fosters to join our team. When we get these little neonatal kittens in, they can't stay at the shelter because they need to be fed around the clock, and that is just care that the shelter cannot provide. So the only way that these kittens survive is by becoming neonate fosters. So if you are interested and want to take that first step, double check this website here and we'll tell you all the steps to get started with that. Another way to help the foster team is by donating. We have volunteers who make these great little cat toys. We have people who donate to our Amazon wish list, and we have people who work as tag team fosters. So if you have a very demanding job 3 days a week, but the other half of the week you are more available, you can definitely tag team. So if you have a friend or neighbor, family member who you think might be a great foster buddy, that's a great way to get involved with our foster program as well. And one of my favorite events of the year is our kitten shower. So coming up on May 7th from 10 a.m., we're going to transform our adoption center lobby at the 510 North LaSalle. We're going to transform it into a baby shower. So we're going to bring all of our little baby kittens in to be celebrated, and people can bring gifts for them. We do have a wish list located on our kitten shower landing page of all the materials that we use to care for each of these baby kittens. We'll have feeding demonstrations. We'll have foster onboarding that you can become a foster right on the spot. We'll have some fun and games, and you can even cuddle a cute little baby kitten. So we hope everyone will join us for our kitten shower on May 7th, right in our adoption lobby. That'll go from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. But if you can't attend, we do ask that you do check out that website and consider purchasing a little gift to help welcome our bundles of joy. Yes. Sorry, yes, Sunday, May 7th is a Sunday. Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Emily and Amber. That was a lot of information. I want to go ahead and open up to any questions that we have from the group. Feel free to just unmute yourself. Actually, Lane, I'm not sure if they can unmute themselves, or you can type your question into the chat box. We have someone monitoring that for us as well.
Hi, everyone. This is Rhett Lindsay. I'm the Vice President of Mission Advancement. Thanks for joining us today. Darlene, we did have one question from the chat. Ellen had asked if the presentation will be sent to everybody, and we can send that to everybody. I think she needs to update her reference folder, it sounds like. So just want to make sure that you know that we're going to send the presentation and additional information about the shower to everybody.
Great, thank you.
They should be able to unmute now. There are
Okay.
questions to ask.
Thank you, Elaine. So if anybody has a question, feel free to unmute and just shout it out.
Hi, team. This is Ellen. And being a neonate foster has been just one of the most rewarding things. And I'm so grateful that you did this so I could meet everybody that's new on the team. You can meet me too. This is Gracie. She was one of my foster fails. And she was a challenge, but she is a definite wonderful girl. And I would encourage anybody who is considering fostering to give it a try, maybe with a little bit older cat before you get to the neonatals, because it is truly a wonderful experience when you can hand those kitties off and know that they're going to get their forever homes. And the medical staff, the clinical staff, the front desk, everybody is willing to help you. So don't be afraid, and you eventually catch up on your sleep again. But it is just such a wonderful experience.
It's great. Thank you, Ellen. I know a question that we often get when we talk about neonatal fosters and just talk about cats in general is why do we see a spike in the population in spring and summer? That comes up often. So Amber or Dr. Emily, would either of you like to kind of expand a little bit on the spring summer influx of kitties?
Yeah, I can tackle that. So when spring comes, love is in the air, and a lot of our cats outside in the world begin to mate. Cats are pregnant for about 63 to 65 days. So that comes in right when the weather starts getting warm. That's when all those babies start being born out in the world as strays. So that's when we see a definite increase in our kittens. In seasons where we have a very mild winter, or when on the reverse side, if there's a lot of snow, very, very cold temperatures, we'll actually see a decrease in the number of kittens that come in because nature will kind of slow that down for us. So unfortunately, winter this year wasn't too bad. So we are expecting a very large amount of kittens to come through our doors, which we've already seen as well. This week alone, we've sent out 22 kits and kittens. So it has definitely started. So it'll be definitely interesting to see how that works out this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can actually add to that. When the pandemic started back in 2020, most shelters, most veterinary clinics, as most of the world kind of shut down. And so we at the collective, we of animal welfare organizations and spay-neuter clinics stopped doing as many spay neuters as we usually do. And there was just a paper published about 6 months ago now that said that there is a significant loss to that kind of slowdown, that stoppage of spay neuter, and a slowdown of getting back up and running. And so we are, again, about 2.7 million spay neuter surgeries in the hole, so to speak, or at a deficit, which oftentimes it's our community cats or stray cats that are the beneficiaries of that spay neuter effort. So in addition to having a warm winter, which may have not kept the population at bay, we also are dealing with a deficit in that spay neuter surgery count. So I suspect, and Anti-Cruelty is planning for the next few years to be a little bit more robust and aggressive as far as kittens are concerned. So we'll see how that pans out.
Darlene, and this might be more directed to Dr. Emily. From Shannon Corrigan, can you expect to lose a kitten sometimes? I remember on the foster webpage talk about fading kitten syndrome.
Yes. Amber and I both have unfortunately witnessed that before. Fading kitten syndrome is a very generic phrase that means that for some reason a kitten didn't make it. The kittens that are most vulnerable to not surviving are those that are under 4 weeks of age, and it's also kittens that don't have mom cat. So kittens that stay with mama cat until 6 weeks of age have a higher likelihood of making it. And I think, we do as much as we can with vaccines, preventives, and close monitoring and feeding, but sometimes there are genetic issues that we cannot see, that don't really manifest or show themselves until they've gotten to be a couple weeks old. And then there can be a virus or a parasite, something that you know, we don't have time to treat. The kitten comes in and already was exposed to the virus and passes a few days later. So yeah, it does happen. Um, you know, there's never an exact statistic. You can't really predict it. And but the younger the kitten is, the more likely they are to not make it. So that does happen too. And I think a lot of our experienced kitten fosters know that that's a possibility. And it's not because a foster didn't do a great job. It's really because, unfortunately, these itty bitty tiny kittens are really, really vulnerable to a variety of issues. So yes, we do experience that for sure.
Awesome. Thank you. I am going to actually take this opportunity to turn things back over to Tracy to kind of steer us in a little different direction here.
All right. Thank you so much. Really appreciate Emily and Amber. Great presentation. I learned some things, and I really want to foster neonate kittens, except I have two really crazy dogs who probably would not allow them in the house. But thank you for those of you who've done it. So let's move to the next slide, please. A really exciting thing that's happening for all you cat lovers as part of our 500-day journey to 125, which is a $5.9 million funding campaign that we are waging right now to make some significant changes, not only to our building, but also bring medical care to many, many, many more people in the community who cannot afford it for their cats and dogs and other animals, is that our current cat adopt room is going to be completely redone into a free roaming cat room. And this is what it's going to look like on the outside, because we're also going to be redoing our lobby. And inside the cat room, next slide, please. This is what it's going to look like. Now, those cages to the right, that is not truth in advertising. We are not going to put those types of cages in. We're going to use the cages that we have now. So we haven't got that changed yet, but this is what it's going to look like outside the three free roaming rooms. So people can sit and look at kitties and talk to each other about how much they love cats. Next slide, please. These are going to be the free roaming rooms. There'll be more kitty amenities than you have in this plan. We'll make sure there's plenty of places for them to both hide and climb. But there will be about 8 to 10 cats, I think, or so per room. And we know from the science that this has been studied, and this is a better environment for most cats. There still will be, of course, private spaces for those cats who are not quite ready to join the group yet, but we're very excited about this. The funding has already been provided by a very generous single donor. We don't have a construction date set yet, but we are moving forward with this plan. Next slide. So we have some upcoming events. We have the kitten shower. There's the date is correct on this one, Sunday, May the 7th. Our largest fundraiser, Bark. We used to call it Bark in the Park or Bark from the Heart. Now it's just called Bark. It's Saturday, May the 20th. You can go to our website and find out about that. Obviously, big open community events for kitty cats are not the best thing. So cats are not going to be invited. This is a dog-friendly event, but it is our largest fundraiser and it's a lot of fun. So go to our website and take a look at that. And then another event, I'm sorry, there's Bark. There it is. You can see a lot of doggies. You can use that QR code to sign up to help us fundraise. because we do depend upon this money for saving our animals in the community. Next slide. Oh, and I want to go back to, let's go back to, so we can talk about Pour Your Heart Out. Pour Your Heart Out is a really great and fun event that is going to be Thursday, September 28th. And if you get information from us, we'll tell you more about that soon. All right, now we can advance. We do have now regular open houses on Thursdays where you, your friends, anyone who you want to see our facility can visit. So the 25th, the 29th of June, etc. I won't read those to you, but you can obviously invite friends that come to those as well. And next slide. So we thank you for participating. We thank you for your work with our cats, with our animals, with the organization. Again, if you want to foster, there's the email, the website, the Facebook. And we're just delighted that you joined us today to hear about this great work. Thank you for joining us and have a wonderful day.